Sandeep, you talked about how it impacts telcos. You talked about how edge compute impacts data centers and the cloud. So my guess is we are talking about all the customers that you have at STL, right? The telcos, the cloud companies, even enterprises. So my natural question is, in your current role with STL, what are you doing about edge compute?
Sure. So first, in the enterprise space, we have already, IoT-based use cases. We use AI, ML in various video analytics, video surveillance, the smart cities, and all of those. We already have that. Especially in case of telco, so we are a big player in 5G and Open RAN. So things like a central unit or DU moves to edge on a cloud server, or in a Open RAN environment, or in an SD-WAN environment where a WAN controller can move to an edge computer, edge cloud scenario, or the controller in the fiber area or fiber elements, they move to the edge compute. So we have complete edge solutions that cover the wired and wireless, as well as 4G and 5G, as well as the fiber.
Seems like you have a fairly wide range of edge compute things, but actually even more importantly, I think it is the other aspects, not just the edge, but the software, the device production, all of that collectively is helping you address the edge problem for all kinds of customers. So how are these customers actually looking at edge compute from their perspective?
If you look at the major cloud providers, they already had an edge play because they were already in IoT. So if you look at Google, they already had IoT edge, and they already had their AI ML platform like TensorFlow and other things that were supporting various enterprises, right? Basically, idea being is getting closer to telcos. They are trying to create a platform for developers along with telcos, and that getting the developer community excited to develop new applications or the edge, it is one of the most critical aspects of this whole ecosystem.
Yeah, I think a lot of opportunities for everyone, and unclear to see who will define all these things. But one thing is very clear, the ecosystem has to work together. It would be interesting if you could throw some light on what are some of the industry players doing, beyond just the cloud companies and telcos, or maybe including them.
Yeah, so that reminds me of one thing. So if you look at last year's Gartner's hype cycle, right? Out of say there are 25 things, dots on that, 30-40% are related to edge. So we already have, the standard organization, CGPP is there, XC is there, then you have, MEC is there, ONF, which is Open Network Foundation, they have project called Equino. So that is all the things the usual players are already have there. But what's happening recently is there are multiple alliances being formed among the operators also, and especially in the context of 5G. But I personally believe that telcos that are going to align more with cloud providers is going to be more useful, and they have, my personal opinion, they have better chances.
Yeah, I think there is clearly better chances for those who align with each other, because there's just so much. Like I mentioned, the entire industry is going to see pretty much every application and more than 50% of the data being processed at the edge. Talking about our telco customers, though, where do you think they should play in this? Where should they start? Or if they've already started, where should be their focus areas?
There are some opportunities where there's a huge market potential, and there is more revenue potential for telcos. And I think O-Media has they kind of put together on a very nice chart, smart grid, connected stadium, and autonomous vehicles. These are the ones that you have a cross section. There's a huge market opportunity and near-term revenue potential as well. And there are other things like drones and, automated guided vehicles that you use in, let's say, mines and those kind of things, right? So these are the areas.
A wide range of opportunities. I think you were focused on MAEC to begin with. And I think that's a pretty good list, and I think our telco partners would actually be already working on this. But my guess is a lot of questions still stay in the minds of CXOs and business leaders, especially the CIOs and CTOs. And they are wondering with this, because probably many of them are very knowledgeable of this, and some of them are more knowledgeable in one part versus another, is what approach should they take when they think of their own organizations? Are there any pitfalls they should avoid? What's your advice to them?
Yeah, I think lots of analysts and lots of other people have also, thought about it, because as I mentioned, this is an architectural shift. So when the cloud came, lots of telcos they tried to take the cloud providers head on, for example. Many of them bought a few cloud companies, and then they also tried to create this parallel infrastructure. So that did not work. So that is a lesson learned. I think in this whole ecosystem, the developers and the API platform, these two things become very, very, very important. Don't look at technology in isolation. Just don't think of edge compute and all this SDN, NFV, fancy things. Focus on the use cases that technology enables, right? Now, other thing is, when you think of, let's say you try and create an edge strategy. I want to have an edge compute strategy. Let's not do that in isolation. It needs to be think holistically in terms of your cloud, your data center, your 5G, your IoT strategy. You have to look at it in a holistic, comprehensive way.
Oh, well, that's a very comprehensive set of recommendations and some really good learning from the past. Sandeep, thanks so much. I think you have helped us understand edge compute in a very, very different way. This is actually, a beginning of a long journey that happened. It has started 20 years ago, and it is not a small shift, it's a generational shift. It's an architectural shift, and the edge is actually going to make us even more capable of doing new things. I mean, we talk about connected cars, we talk about, distant robotic surgeries. All of those things are only possible because of this. And the core reasons that we heard from today are the fact that there is latency or response times, bandwidth utilization, localization of data, autonomy, and security. These are things that we have to think through when we solve. A great place to start is the multi-access edge compute, where Sandeep and his team from STL can help. And the edge is going to be truly a dynamic and distributed solution that comes by the working together of the industry. Thank you so much for sharing all of this with us, Sandeep, and looking forward to meeting you at the edge.
Thank you, Manish. As I have to say, we are on the edge of a revolution. Thank you, Manish. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much.